Today on our 2006 Hummer H3, we're going to be taking a look at and installing the Roadmaster MX baseplate kit with removable arms, part number 2505-3. Here's what this baseplate is going to look like once it's installed in the vehicle. It's pretty well hidden and doesn't really add much to the front of the vehicle unless you get down to where you can see it mounted underneath here. This is the receiver that the removable arm will go into. And right there is a pinhole for a 1/2-inch pin and clip to go through. Right over here, we've got our safety chain connection point. And then this smaller hole on this side is actually where, when you've got the removable arm in place, it has one just like it that'll line up to this one. So if you want, you can actually put a lock through there if you're wanting to leave your arm in. And that way you don't have to worry about it being stolen. Installing this base plate is a fairly easy installation. It bolts to the frame using existing holes that are already there in the frame. To install our removable arm, just simply slide it into place. You can take your pin and clip and slide it through. First thing we'll need to do to begin our installation is we'll need to remove this rock guard that's underneath here. And it's going to be held in with 4 13mm bolts. Then I'll reinstall the 2 bolts that held up the front of this other rock guard. At the sway bar here, we'll need to take the 10mm bolts out of both sides of our strap that hold it up into place. Then we'll move to the other side, do the same thing in order to let the sway bar hang down out of the way away from the frame. Here on the driver's side, in the inner fender well, this push pin that goes in just above the frame here, we'll need to remove that so that we can pull that fender liner out a little bit off of that frame. You can take a flathead screwdriver, begin working that out of there. If it's not wanting to come very well, you can take a pair of side cutters and work them behind the edges so you can pull the center of it out. And once you've got the center pulled out, you can pop the body of it out and it'll be loose. Then there's one on the other side. It'll just be right up here instead of along the side here. Now we'll take one of our long 1/2-inch bolts along with one of our plates, put the bolt through, then we'll pull our fender liner back and then insert that bolt from the outside of the frame, going through the frame and coming out the inside. And the hole that you want to be sure that you use is the one that's just behind this body mount bolt right here. Now we'll take our base plate bracket, we'll slide it up into position here. You'll need to get it between the edge of the radiator and the inside of the frame. So you want to be sure that you're using the one on each side so that this plate is on the inside edge of the frame. Then you can pull that bolt back through a little bit, just so that you can slide the plate up over and reinsert the bolt all the way back through. Now on all of the bolts that we'll be installing in order to secure our base plate to the vehicle, we'll be installing red Loctite. You can get that on our site, part number LT37420. And then we'll install a 1/2-inch split lock washer and hex nut. We'll just leave those finger tight. Now on the inside of the frame, we'll line up the 2 holes that are on our bracket with the holes in the frame, and then we'll take our longer 1/2-inch bolts and insert them from the inside of the frame rail so that they go through the hole on the outside. Now we'll take our angled bracket and we'll take the two holes that are spaced further apart and we'll put that on the outside of the frame over those two bolts that have come through. And you want to make sure that the angled portion with the two holes that are closer together will line up with the two holes that have the weld nuts on the back of them on the base plate itself. Then with that up in position, on each one, we'll install a lock washer and hex knife. Next we'll take two of our 1.5 inch long half-inch bolts with a lock washer on them and thread them in to the weld nuts that are built in to this angled portion here on the base plate. And then we'll repeat that process for the other side. Once we've got both sides up into place, then we can take our cross brace and set it right on top here in order to get it lined up with the holes. And you want to make sure that the weld nuts are on the top side of that brace when you put it up there. And then on each side, we'll put in our 1 inch long half-inch bolts with lock washers. Now we can take our sway bar and put it back up into position and get it lined up with the holes. And then we'll use the new longer 10mm bolts that come with the kit with flat washer and lock washer. In order to begin securing it in place. Now we'll want to make sure that everything is even and squared up, and then we'll be able to use a 3/4 socket to begin tightening all our hardware. And now, in order to tighten up the bolts for our sway bar, we'll just need an 11/16 socket. Then we'll torque all of our bolts to the specification found in the instructions. That's going to complete our look at and installation of the Roadmaster MX baseplate kit with removable arms, part number 2505-3 on our 2006 Hummer H3.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.